Good morning, students. Welcome to TY BCom Semester 5 English Medium Stream at Anand Commerce College, Anand. Myself, Professor Devang Trivedi, engaging you for the subject Business Ethics at TY BCom English Medium. These online lectures are being delivered as per the guidance of Education Department of the Government of Gujarat. Syllabus of Business Ethics has been prescribed by Sardar Patel University, Vallabh Vidyanagar. The subject code is UB05SCOM 21, and this syllabus is effective from June 2020. The standard text and reference book prescribed by the university are: number 1, Business Ethics by A.C. Fernando Patterson; second, Principle of Management by T. Ramaswamy. Publishers are Himalaya Publishing House. And the third book is Business Laws, Ethics and Communication, Volume 1 by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, New Delhi. These books can be utilized, and that broadly covers the syllabus as prescribed by the university. Over and above these reference books, there are other tailor-made book and material available in the market. So according to the convenience of the students, they may utilize as per their flexibility. Now let's move to unit number 1. The first unit is Introduction to Business Ethics, and the first point is Introduction. One who knows and look to this term ethics may feel confused in the first instance, because most of the people think that business and ethics are virtually two different concepts, and they can be very hardly interrelated. Business is a form of economic activity which is governed by the principle of input and outputs. Ethics, on the other hand, is concerned with moral behavior of an individual and clarifies what can be described as right or wrong behavior. Therefore, some people believe that business has nothing to do with ethics and vice versa. Though this view looks convenient and attractive, it does not carry sound logic. Business is a part and parcel of human life, and business organizations do not exist and function outside the society. Therefore, business cannot alienate itself from the concept and norms of good and bad developed by human society. Several times, the terms ethics and morals, or say morality, are used interchangeably. However, there appears some difference between the two. Morality is perceived as personal, whereas ethics is perceived as institutional. Morality is usually related with sexual matters, and ethics is concerned with right and wrong behavior. Alternatively, sometimes ethics is treated as the scientific study of morality, Webster Dictionary has given a more elaborate and comprehensive description of ethics. It states that ethics is discipline dealing with what is good or bad, right or wrong, or moral duty or obligation. It is a group of moral principles or set of values, and these principles govern the conduct of an individual or a profession. So, with this introductory background, now let's move to the second item, that is ethics and morals. I have already told you in my earlier introductory remark what is ethics and moral, but now look at it in a more specific manner. According to Paul W. Taylor, ethics may be defined as philosophical inquiry into the nature and grounds of morality. Thomas Higgins believes that ethics is the art of human living and its result should be ease in being good man in every circumstances. Great Churchill defined ethics as the application of moral values or codes to complex problems using a rational decision making process. The outcome of this process is usually a behavior or set of behaviors. These above definitions provides that ethics is an inquiry or study of the concept of good and bad. It tries to decide what can be called as good and bad and provides a clarification for that. Ethics, in fact, studies morality, and morality is concerned with conduct and character. Therefore, it attempts to explain as to which type of behavior is good behavior or right kind of behavior, and which behavior can be described as wrong behavior or a bad behavior. In order to decide this, ethics provides a set of principles or values, and these values act as criteria for deciding moral desirability of human behavior. Ethics continuously makes a systematic inquiry to learn what are the standards of morality of people. Why those are the standards of morality? How people practice these standards. So these three, thus ethics is not simply an emotional expression such as be good and do good. It is a rational analysis and conclusions about the fundamental element that decide good and bad or right and wrong behavior. Therefore, it initiates thinking from the definition of right actions and wrongful doing and suggests a basis for such an analysis. A great management expert, Thomas M. Garrett, is of the opinion that law is generally concerned only with the minimum regulation necessary for public order, while ethics examines both the individual and the social good in all dimensions. Therefore, what is lawful need not be necessarily ethical. Be clear. In general, ethics deal with more with good than with evil. An action is right or desirable or moral in the view of a given school of thought. If it is consistent with the principle verified to the satisfaction of its adherents. Obviously, immoral actions are those which are inconsistent with these principles. So, make the things very clear here that the ethics and morals are the terms that are interchangeable. Every society has its moral code, and everyone in that society or culture is brought up with that set of moral belief. When an individual blindly accepts the moral code of this society, his morality is customary or conventional. Here, the word customary is derived from the term custom, and customs are described as the uniform way of acting by which human beings meet their common needs. Customs are passed from one generation to the next, and customs are the result of accumulated experience of people in the past. Customs act as ready-made programs of action and adjustment. Customs provides a basis for developing and sustaining life of a person. Harold Titus defines customary morality as a moral system under which moral standards are based on customs, which in turn are accepted without reflection, is called customary morality or a group morality. This system was prevalent especially among kinship groups. Customary morality forbids certain act and also expect certain conduct. It is usually in the form of do this and don't do that type. The rules and regulations developed by customary morality operate through habit and not through conscious choice. Customary morality or a morality or morals has the strength to develop a stable character which functions with little friction in a stable environment. It can hold an average man in line and condemns the traditional evils. In respect of some areas of social life and businesses, it speaks clearly and accurately which conduct is best and desirable. Most of our moral judgments are influenced by customs, and customary immorality cannot entirely eliminated. Many customs are the outcome of past experience and wisdom. So they are relevant and realistic to certain extent. Therefore, he says that too large a part of our present morality depends upon where we were born or reared and not upon principle which will stand critical examination, patriotic allegiance, the attitude toward property toward other races, as well as our standard of personal honor are all set for as largely by our social circles and by the class barriers of our time. So, students, from the foregoing description of ethics and moral, it is clear that though both terms look different, but they are to a large extent used interchangeably, and they defines our personal as well as business ethics and morality. Clear? Okay, now let's move to the next point, and that is need for business ethics. Students, today we are confronted with a very contradictory objective of survival and profit maximization in business, and on the other hand we have to abide by the principles and practice of ethics and morals. And in this quest and contradiction between the profit and morality and ethics, ultimately the sacrifices of business ethics and morality are made, and we have been experiencing and watching and observing in our public life as well as in the commerce and business world, even in the management, that there is a complete sacrifice of business ethics. The time has come, and today there is a growing concern among the communities, among the governments, and among the public at large that there is a need for business ethics. Students, we are living in the world of competition. Cutthroat competition is a acceptance, and we have to live in that world. And therefore business ethics forms a set of generally accepted standards in the context of business. In fact, business ethics and organizational ethics is part of a broader study of ethics. In order to provide guidelines for moral decision making in business, we have to explore the guidelines for making moral decision in general context. Ethics in general and ethics in business are very intimate to each other. Therefore, one's personal ethics cannot be completely separated from one's business or organizational ethics. If you are a man of principle, then you are more inclined to insist on high moral standards in your business and organization. Ethics is not a skill which one can acquire and possess. Ethics is a perspective and discipline which one has to develop thoroughly and practice continuously and relentlessly. A moral individual is ethical in all walks of life, and the moral status is to be preserved vigilantly. It cannot be presumed or taken for granted on the basis of past exercise. The strength of morality lies in its continuous practice. Ethics is not simply a matter of an intellectual debate or an academic analysis. It is always reflected in one's behavior and action. It appears in real life situation. William Shaw is of the opinion that those who have thought and studied seriously about ethics in general and about their own values in particular have a better basis for making and marketing moral decisions in an organizational setting than those who have not. According to Beverly Watkins, today's marketplace calls for business executives who is bold enough to build his reputation on integrity and who has a keen sensitivity to the ethical ramification of his decision making. Usually, statutes, laws, rules, and regulations are framed by governments and legislative authorities in critical areas of interpersonal conduct. The objective is to provide safety and personal welfare to people who can be vitally affected by the unethical practices. In order to enhance and further develop the ethical practices in business community and professionals, a professional code of conduct is developed. Such codes have assumed great importance. The need for business ethics comes from what I told in this foregoing discussion. The interest of all stakeholders, such as shareholders, employees, suppliers, government, customers, creditors, and local public, need to be safeguarded against unfair, unethical, and dubious ways of dealing and exploitation. If this is not done, the result will be a total collapse of the entire system. Customers are the cause and purpose of every business. A business is supposed to serve them satisfactorily. However, most of the time, the rights and privileges of customers are neglected. In order to save the rights of the customers and serve them well, there is a need for some moral binding on business community. This is what exactly business ethics does. The most important consumer rights which need to be protected through ethical practices are right to information, right to safety, right to choice, and right to be heard. The codes of conduct for business, popularly called a business codes, governs the interrelationships of members. In the present complexity, business cannot be carried out without the trust in ethical standards of suppliers, dealers, financiers, and other related agencies. In the present day, the concept of nature and objectives of business has undergone a radical change. The social orientation of business is now well accepted. As a part and parcel of the society, the business has to accept and fulfill certain social obligation and responsibilities. Today, business is confronted with important social issues such as ecology and environmental protection, consumerism, resource utilization, and development. People oriented management and human dignity, energy conservation and energy crisis, etc. To tackle these social issues successfully and satisfactorily, the business must develop ethical perspective and practices. The business organizations should prepare and publish a code of ethics. This will boost up the confidence of customers, employees, dealers, and suppliers in the quality of functions and dealings of the organization. Students, a belief which has prevailed for a very long time explains that good ethics is good business. The belief is supported by experts like Edmund Learned, Arch Pulley, and Robert Kurtz. They observed that the businessman's reasons for supporting this system is because a business that believes ethically induces others to behave ethically towards it. Very simple. Ethical behavior is a form of insurance against retaliatory act. A good man who steadfastly tries to be ethical somehow always overtake his immoral or a moral counterpart. An unethical man who is preoccupied with deception cannot match the pure creative zeal of the honest individual whose energies are free for maximum productivity and creativity. Walter Clarence is of the opinion that many businessmen try to be ethical in their behavior, in their dealings with competitors, employees, society, and others. They further states that in most cases and in almost all times, good ethics mean good business. The exceptions are when the competition is overwhelmingly influenced by unhealthy practices and there are threats of violence, possibly putting the individual concerned out of business or out of job. Thomas Garrett observes that good ethics may be contributing factor to good business. Much of the dishonesty is lured by incompetence, cowardice, and myopia. In the world of business, one tends to give rise to other since many managers look for short-term result and immediate gains. If they focus on long-term advantages and employ their complete potential for the same, then they need not have to resort to unethical practices. So students, it is clear from the foregoing discussion and description that there is definitely a need for business ethics, and we cannot underestimate in today's world that without business ethics we cannot survive. Now let's move to the next point, that is the benefits of business ethics. As you know that the ethics and morals are the backbone for the survival, and therefore it is a guide of principle designed to help professionals conduct business honestly and with integrity. Typically, a code of ethics outline the mission and values of business or organizations. The approach professionals are supposed to take when they encounter a problem, the organization's core values and ethical principle they are based on, as well as the standards on which all professionals are held. In the past, codes of ethics and morals were commonly found only in non-profit organizations and other similar entities, but they have since spread into the businesses and corporate world. A code of ethics is typically employed in conjunction with a company's specific politics and its policies and code of conduct. Because the term code of ethics and code of conduct are often used interchangeably, there is a lot of confusion surrounding their exact meaning. What they both have in common is that they attempt to encourage specific behavior. A code of ethics accomplishes this by providing guidance about values and choices, while a code of conduct clearly states which actions are appropriate and which are not. Most codes of ethics have a wide scope covering a broad range of specific and non-specific topics. Codes of ethics and conducts tend to be much narrower in their scope and dealing with a small number of particularly relevant areas such as sexual harassment, racial discrimination, offensive language, etc. etc. Both codes are sometimes combined into a single document, that is, Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct, created by Linux Professional Institute. The LPI community is an open, safe, and inclusive space fostering, sharing, and collaborating regardless of age, disability, ethnicity, gender, identity and expression, level of experience, nationality, personal appearance, race, religion, or sexual orientation. And this document clearly lays down more specifically for what the benefits that it tries to derive from the code of ethics to the business. There are a lot of understanding about what specific benefits that it can give. Let's say the first is set of right culture. The most important benefit of the ethics is that it can foster an environment of trust. Students, without trust, no one can exist and we cannot do anything. Ethical behavior, integrity, and excellence. When everyone from a particular organization or a business ecosystem, they suit to the people at the very bottom, plays by same rules and behaves in a certain way towards one another, productivity tends to grow as conflicts and confusion disappears from the workplace. In this environment, employees who might otherwise be afraid to voice their opinion feel encouraged to contribute, which is how good team becomes excellent. Companies that foster an environment of trust, ethical behavior, integrity, and excellence are also better prepared to deal with unforeseen challenges because they have a very strong foundation to stand on. The second advantage, the most important advantage, is builds a good reputation. Reputation. Today's customers look well beyond the big price tag. With so many choices, customers gravitate towards companies they feel they can trust, and they stay far away from those companies that don't promote ethical behavior. But it is not just customers to whom ethics matter. Companies that pay strong attention to ethics also find it easier to establish lasting partnership both within and outside their industry. To see why ethical behavior is so important, we don't need to look further than at recent so-called Weinstein effect, which is a term that's used to describe a worldwide wave of sexual abuse allegations against the film producer Harvey Weinstein, which eventually gave rise to the Me Too campaign. After it spent months looking for a buyer or investor, the Weinstein Company was eventually forced to file for bankruptcy because nobody wanted to touch it. The third important advantage is ethics helps to remain in compliance with laws and regulations. According to the landmark Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, also known as the Public Company Accounting Reform and Investor Protection Act, all individuals serving on boards and organizational leaders of public companies are required to have a code of ethics to make major corporate scandals like Enron and WorldCom less likely to happen. In India as well, we have seen a lot of scandals in banks and private companies. Any promises a company makes and fails to comply with can make it amenable to use for breach of contract. So companies that implement a code of conduct have a strong incentive to ensure ethical treatment of its employees, clients, partners, as well as the public. The fourth important advantage is it attracts, that is, the ethics attracts outstanding employees. Outstanding employees come from all walks of life and they all expect to be treated justly and ethically. Companies with a code of ethics reassure the potential employees that they won't be discriminated against sexuality, sexual harassment, intimidated, bullied, or subjected to any other type of workplace harassment. See, sometime back, Linux Torvalds apologized for how he had been running the Linux kernel community and adopted the contributor covenant, which is a code of ethics and conduct for open source project after years of driving away talented developers with his hostile behavior. In the interest of fostering an open and welcoming environment, we as contributors and maintainers pledge to making participation in our project and our community a harassment-free experience for everyone, regardless of age, body size, disability, ethnicity, sex characteristics, gender identity and expression, level of experience, education, socio-economic status, nationality, personal experience, race, religion, or sexual identity and orientation as stated by contributor covenant. And the last advantage of business ethics is it promotes social change. See, one list talked about benefits of adopting a code of ethics is that it promotes social change. We all live on the same planet and share the same finite amount of natural resources. So we are all responsible for the happiness or misery of one another. By promoting positive social change, companies can contribute to making the world a better place for everyone, not just a few selected. So, in this day of age, companies cannot afford to focus solely on the bottom line anymore. The ethical aspects of doing business are becoming just as important as financial one. And a well thought out code of ethics is emerging as a necessary prerequisites for the success. So, well, student, today in this online lecture, what we have seen is the first unit, Introduction to Business Ethics. In that, we have seen the first point, introduction, the second point, ethics and morals, the third point, business ethics, and the last point we have seen is need for business ethics and the benefits of business ethics.